Hi everybody, and welcome to day 55 of 100 Days of Videos. This is Diana Papilli. Today I would like to address stress. Yes, stress. Now, stress, it can do things to us emotionally and physically, and that's not what I'm here to talk about. There are medical conditions or medical manifestations of how we handle stress, and it actually can show up in our bodies. It can make us sick. What I'd like to do is define stress. Now, this is not a popular definition. A lot of people get angry when they hear this definition of stress. It's not my own. I wish it were, because I think it's a very wise definition. But what it is, I learned this, oh my gosh, it was quite a few years ago. I was probably in my 20s or 30s when I learned this definition. And at first I even kicked back a little bit about it. But it's true if you give it some thought. So here it is. My definition of stress that I embraced is not getting my own way. Now, before you say, wait a minute, Diana, stop. I'm not some 2-year-old that has to stomp and try to get my own way. No, but I want you to think about some of these things. Some of these things that happening in our lives are challenging, and they can be perceived as negative events. For example, is it your desire? Is it your way? Do you want to be in a traffic jam on your way to work or on your way home after a long, hard day? Is it your desire to get sick or have a very serious illness or even a life-threatening illness? Is it your desire to have your child with a serious illness or even a cold? Is it your desire to get fired from a job? Or what about losing a loved one? These are all stressful situations, but if we take just a moment to think about it, these are nothing that we'd order up for ourselves like, gee, I think it would be great to have an uncle get incarcerated for drunk driving. Nobody says that, all right? So this is stressful, but think about it. There are other ways that we can be stressed, even with positive things or things that we did desire. Why? Because they require a period of adjustment. For example, you get a new job with a raise. Now, you may have gone after that job and it may be your dream job, but the truth is it entails a whole bunch of new responsibilities and new expectations put upon you or yourself, and that can be stressful. Or getting married, again, a very happy occasion, but it does bring with us a certain amount of stress because it requires a period of adjustment and processing all the change that's happened with that. Same thing with losing a large amount of weight. There are a lot of people in my world who have lost enormous amounts of weight. Some of them have lost more than I weigh. And that is a wonderful thing, and it's made very healthy changes for their lives, but it also brings on a certain amount of stress, not because they didn't want to. Yes, they did want to, but because it's requiring, things are different now, and it's requiring an adjustment. Getting a promotion, having a child, being successful in a business, moving to a beautiful, bigger house, or downsizing, and that's all can be positive things, but they can also create stress. Again, maybe things that we wanted, but it just takes a period of adjustment. So how do we deal with this stress and not let it get to us? Well, I think the best way to do it is to take a look at what we can control and what we can't. If you have a loved one get sick or have a child with a serious illness, can you control that? Probably not, unless it's an illness that we brought on and we didn't realize it. But there are certain things that do fall within our sphere of responsibility and our sphere of control that we can deal with. Maybe it's making changes to accommodate that illness, depending on if it's an illness that's going to last a day, a week, a month, a year, or a lifetime. Making various accommodations and just taking a minute to process that. And sometimes it takes more than a minute. But taking the time to process it. We inundate ourselves so much with expectations. And I am so guilty of this. I will put way too many things on my to-do list. In fact, several years ago, I joined a goal. We call it an achievers group because what it is we set goals. And I found just the act sometimes of setting goals was extremely stressful because I set too many. And over the years, we learned that it's just not that easy to set so many goals for ourselves. Doesn't mean we shouldn't set goals. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to achieve them, nor should we try to exceed our expectations and exceed our limitations, etc. But what it does mean is that we need to be reasonable and gentle and kind with ourselves. I love the line from Desiderata. It's a poem called Desiderata, enormously popular in the 60s and 70s. And that line in that poem says, "Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself." So we need to manifest and create a wholesome discipline for ourselves. But in that process, we also need to be gentle. Doesn't mean we don't work hard, doesn't mean we strive, it doesn't mean we push. It doesn't mean we give up, or it doesn't mean we go on when we want to give up. It just means that we be gentle with ourselves and not heap a bunch of stuff on us, ourselves, or anybody else for that matter. So when it comes to dealing with stress, this is where journaling helps me. Sometimes I can be so short-tempered or so aggravated or just, I don't want to say snipey because I'm not necessarily snipey, but I can be sharp and just have a sharp edge and be very direct and sometimes hurt the people around me, or just not hurt, but just make the people around me uncomfortable. I don't mean to do that, but when I'm under a lot of stress, sometimes that's what I do. Also remember, quite a few weeks ago, when I talked about our human default program, remember that stress restores our human default program. And for a brief review of that, our human default program is a lie that we believe about ourselves. When we get under stress, that lie and that mind chatter really, really hits us hard. And we have to work, make a conscious effort sometimes to not become a victim of that human default program and not become a victim of that mind chatter. It's a lot about staying in tune with our higher power and reaching up, reaching in, and reaching out when we need to, when we have a lot of stuff on our plate and we're under a lot of stress. Or sometimes it may just mean going within and finding the strength that we absolutely have, but maybe we didn't know, and maybe that's what this new stress is doing. It's testing that strength. Tomorrow, I'd like to talk about overwhelm. I'm not completely done with stress, but that's all I really have to say about it today. But tomorrow, our topic will be overwhelm. What comes from so much stress? Have a great evening. Hope it's not at all stressful. And if it is, take a deep breath. Be gentle with yourself. Take things one at a time and do your best. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.